Millionaire couldn't explain his autistic son's signs until the maid exposed the hidden truth. What if the strange signals of a silent child were not random quirks, but desperate attempts to reveal a buried secret? This isn't just another story. It's based on real struggles many families face when love and money collide with silence, trauma, and truth. And by the end of this video, you'll not only discover the shocking truth hidden in this millionaire's house, but you'll also see how a simple act of kindness changed everything for a broken family. Lucas Harrington was a man people envied. A self-made millionaire, owner of multiple companies, he lived in a mansion that overlooked endless fields of green. On the outside, everything about his life screamed success. But behind the tall gates and polished glass, his home carried a heavy silence. That silence had a name: Theo. Theo was Lucas's only son, a boy of 7 with striking brown eyes and a habit of staring out windows for hours. Doctors called it autism. They said he struggled to communicate, to connect, to live like other children. But to Lucas, Theo was more than a diagnosis. He was the only thing left after tragedy stole his wife during childbirth. Lucas tried to love his boy, but the truth was harsher. He didn't know how. He buried himself in business, locked himself in his study, and convinced himself that providing money was enough. But money couldn't answer the questions Theo asked with his silence. Because Theo didn't speak much, but he did something else. He pointed. He would sit by the old garden swing, raise his hand, and point toward the trees. Sometimes he pointed at shadows, sometimes at nothing at all. To Lucas, it was meaningless. To the housemaids, it was eerie. They whispered that the boy was strange, maybe cursed. Most of them left within weeks, all except one: Maya. Maya was quiet, steady, and unafraid of Theo's silences. She noticed things others ignored: the way his finger trembled as he pointed, the way his lips moved without sound, the way his gaze held more weight than words. She stayed when others left. And that decision changed everything. One gray afternoon, while Lucas drowned himself in paperwork, Maya found Theo sitting by the window again. His tiny finger stretched out toward the swing in the garden, and his lips formed a single word, soft but clear enough for her to hear: Mana. Maya frowned. Mana? What does that mean, sweetheart? Theo didn't reply. He just pointed harder, almost urgently. Maya followed his gaze. The swing moved gently in the wind, though no one was near. And then she saw it, half hidden by the tree, the shape of a child. Dirty hair, small frame, barefoot. A little girl watching silently. Maya gasped softly. Another child? She turned to Lucas, but when she looked back, the girl was gone. From that moment, Maya knew Theo's signs weren't meaningless. They were messages, warnings, clues to something far deeper than anyone wanted to see. But Lucas didn't want to hear it. When Maya told him, he shook his head. Enough, Maya. Don't feed into his illusions. My son is not seeing ghosts in my garden. His words were sharp, but Maya noticed something. Fear. He was scared, not of Theo, but of what Theo might reveal. And that fear would soon collide with truth in ways Lucas could no longer control. What happened next was the beginning of an unraveling so shocking that it almost destroyed Lucas before it saved him. Why was Theo pointing to the garden? Who was the mysterious girl who appeared and vanished in the shadows? And how could a maid, with no money, no power, just patience, be the one to expose a truth buried for years? Stay with me, because as we move deeper into this story, you'll see how one child's silent signs led to uncovering a secret so painful, so powerful, that it changed a millionaire's life forever.
Maya couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the pale little girl in the garden, the way she looked at Theo, the way both children pointed as if they shared a secret language only they understood. Was she real, or just a product of Theo's imagination? By morning, Maya was sure of one thing: Whatever was happening, she couldn't dismiss it. Theo wasn't making this up. He was trying to show something, and everyone else was too blind to see. The next day, Maya sat beside Theo during breakfast. Lucas buried himself in the newspaper, hardly glancing at his son. The boy picked at his food, eyes flicking constantly to the garden. Maya leaned closer. "Theo, do you want to see her again?" Theo froze, then slowly nodded. His lips moved. "Manna." Lucas slammed his paper down. "Not this again!" But Maya pressed gently. "Lucas, please, he's trying to tell us something. Don't you see? He's not broken. He's communicating in the only way he can." Lucas's jaw tightened. "Communicating nonsense. Maya, stop encouraging him." He rose and stormed off, leaving the boy and Maid alone. Theo stared at the swing again, his little finger lifting toward the window. His eyes begged her, "Help me." And for the first time, Maya realized she couldn't keep silent anymore. That evening, when the sun dipped low, Maya took Theo outside. They walked hand in hand to the swing. At first, the garden was still. Birds chirped in the trees. The air smelled of damp earth. Then, like a shadow stepping out of the earth, the girl appeared again. She stood barefoot under the tree, watching them. Her face was streaked with dirt, her eyes hollow but piercing. Theo lit up. He tugged Maya's hand, whispering urgently, "Manna! Manna!" The girl didn't speak. She only pointed again, past the swing toward the far corner of the property where a shed stood locked and forgotten. Maya's heart pounded. "Do you live there?" she whispered almost to herself. The girl's lips trembled, but no sound came. She nodded once. Then, in an instant, she bolted into the shadows and disappeared. Maya dragged Theo back inside, shaken. She waited until Lucas came home that night and told him everything. His reaction wasn't what she expected. Instead of shock or curiosity, he grew angry. His face reddened, his voice thundered. "Enough of this nonsense. You're a maid, not a doctor, not a detective. Don't bring your superstitions into my home." "But I saw her, Lucas, with my own eyes. She's real, and she pointed to the shed." Lucas froze for a moment. His eyes flickered, betraying something. Fear, maybe. Guilt? Then he barked, "Stay out of my property's corners, and don't fill my son's head with lies." He left the room, slamming the door so hard the walls rattled. Maya clutched Theo, who buried his face in her chest. She knew she couldn't give up now. The girl wasn't a ghost. She was flesh and blood, and that shed, locked for years, held answers. 2 days later, while Lucas was away on business, Maya gathered her courage. She led Theo into the garden, toward the shed. Its wooden walls were weathered, its padlock rusted, but still intact. Theo pointed furiously, stamping his little foot. "Manna!" Maya knelt down, trying the lock. Impossible to open without a key. She circled the shed, looking for another way. And then she noticed something chilling. Small footprints in the dirt behind it. Barefoot. A child's. Her breath caught. The girl was real. She'd been here recently. Theo crouched, pressing his hand into one of the prints. He looked up at Maya with wide, pleading eyes. That night she hardly slept. Who was this child? Why was she hiding on the Harrington estate? And why was Lucas so desperate to deny her existence? Unable to let it go, Maya did something bold. She contacted a private detective she once knew through a family friend. Carefully, she explained the strange sightings, the autistic boy's signs, and the locked shed. The detective raised a brow. Sounds more like a missing child case than a haunting. Within a week, he returned with information that shattered Maya's world. Years ago, the Harrington family had been at the center of a scandal, quietly buried by money. A nurse from the hospital where Theo was born had disappeared. Rumors swirled that another child had gone missing that same week. A girl. But no case had ever been opened, no report filed. Everything covered up. Maya's stomach dropped. Could it be? When Maya confronted Lucas with the detective's report, he exploded again. But this time, his fury couldn't hide the truth. He paced the room, gripping his hair. You don't understand. That child, she's not supposed to exist. Maya's voice shook. So she does exist? Lucas froze, and the silence that followed said more than words. Theo, sitting on the carpet, pointed again toward the window. His small voice broke the tension. Manna. Tears pricked Maya's eyes. Lucas, your son knows. He's been trying to tell you. Don't you see? He's not broken. He's your compass. He's leading you to her. Lucas's shoulders sagged. For the first time, the millionaire who always had control looked small, helpless. But he still refused to admit everything. Instead, he whispered one chilling sentence. Some truths can destroy families. But secrets don't stay buried forever. That very night, when everyone thought the mansion was asleep, Maya caught Theo sneaking into the garden. She followed him quietly, and what she saw near the shed changed everything. The girl wasn't just hiding anymore. She was waiting. And this time, she spoke.
The house slept in silence. The tall grandfather clock ticked softly in the hallway, but Maya couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. A faint creak reached her ears, the sound of a door opening. She stepped into the corridor and saw Theo, barefoot, tiptoeing toward the back garden. Her heart leapt. Theo, she whispered, hurrying after him. Where are you going? But the boy didn't stop. His little hand reached for the doorknob, his eyes locked on the garden beyond. And then she saw her. The girl stood by the shed, bathed in moonlight, waiting. This time she didn't vanish. She stepped forward, closer to Theo, her lips parted, her voice trembling but clear. Mana! Maya froze. The word Theo had been whispering for weeks. It wasn't gibberish. It was the girl's name. Theo rushed toward her, and to Maya's astonishment, the two children embraced as if they'd known each other their whole lives. No hesitation, no fear, just recognition. Maya's breath caught. Oh my God! You know each other! The girl clutched Theo's hand tightly. Tears streamed down her dirty cheeks as she whispered again, Mana. Maya knelt, speaking softly. Is that your name? Mana? The girl nodded, and then with shaking hands she pointed again, not at the shed this time, but at Lucas's mansion. Her eyes pleaded, her mouth formed words that chilled Maya to the core. Papa! Home! Maya staggered back, her mind reeling. Papa? Could it be possible? She looked at Theo, who seemed calm, as though everything made perfect sense to him. He held Mana's hand tighter and pointed to the house, echoing her word. Papa. The realization struck Maya like lightning. This wasn't just a lost girl. This was family. Mana was Lucas Harrington's daughter, Theo's sister. Maya's voice shook. Where have you been, child? Why are you hiding here? Mana trembled, glancing fearfully at the shed. She shook her head, unable to explain. She wasn't just frightened. She was traumatized. Maya's instincts told her this was no accident. Someone had hidden the girl.
Someone had kept her away all these years. But who and why? She took both children's hands. "Come with me! You can't stay out here anymore! You belong inside!" Mana pulled back, shaking her head violently. "No, no, Papa!" Her voice broke into sobs. Whatever she remembered about Lucas, it wasn't safe in her mind. Maya's heart pounded as she guided the children back inside. But as soon as they stepped into the hallway, Lucas appeared at the top of the stairs. His eyes widened at the sight, his face drained of color. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Lucas whispered, almost to himself, "No, this can't be." Maya pushed forward, anger boiling inside her. "You knew, didn't you? All this time, Theo's pointing, his whispers, you knew what it meant. You've been hiding your own daughter." Lucas's hands shook against the railing. "I don't understand. I was protecting him, protecting us." "Protecting? By leaving her to rot in the shadows of your garden?" Maya snapped. Theo clung to his sister, eyes wide, torn between fear and loyalty. Lucas descended the stairs slowly, every step heavy with dread. He looked at Mana, then at Theo. His lips trembled as if decades of silence weighed him down. She was born before Theo, when my wife was still alive." His voice cracked. "But there were complications. The doctor said she didn't survive." Maya's chest tightened. "But she did survive. She's here. Lucas. Alive." He buried his face in his hands. "I didn't know. I thought they told me she was gone." "Who told you?" Maya pressed. His eyes darkened. "The hospital. The same nurse who vanished afterwards. I paid him to handle things. I was weak, afraid. My wife was dying and I couldn't—" Trailed off, his voice breaking. Maya gasped. It was worse than she imagined. Corruption, lies, a stolen child. And now that truth had returned, standing right in front of him. Theo tugged his father's sleeve, pointing again at Mana. His eyes pleaded, "See her! Acknowledge her!" Mana whispered through tears, "Papa, why?" Lucas collapsed onto the stairs, sobbing openly for the first time in years. "I didn't know, my child. God forgive me. I didn't know." But even as he wept, Maya sensed this was only the beginning. Something darker still lingered in the shadows. The nurse, the missing files, the locked shed. None of it made sense yet. And until it did, these children would never be safe. That night, Maya tucked Mana into Theo's bed, watching the siblings curl up together as though they'd always belonged side by side. But as she closed the door, a chill ran through her. Somewhere in this house, in this land, were the missing pieces of the puzzle. Lucas had confessed only part of the truth. The rest, the real reason Mana had been hidden, was still buried, and Maya was determined to uncover it. The next morning, when Maya went to wake the children, she found Theo's bed empty. Mana was gone. The window stood open wide, curtains flapping in the cold morning air, and on the pillow lay a note written in shaky handwriting. "Don't look for me. It's safer this way."
The morning sun spilled through the mansion's tall windows, but instead of warmth, it brought panic. Maya rushed through the hallways, calling Mana's name. "Theo! Mana!" Her voice echoed, desperate. In Theo's room, the curtains billowed from the open window. On the pillow, the note, "Don't look for me. It's safer this way." Lucas stormed in moments later, his tie half-fastened, his face pale. "What happened? Where is she?" Maya shoved the note at him. "She's gone. She thinks she's protecting us. But from what?"
Theo sat on the edge of his bed, rocking slightly. He pointed toward the garden again, then pressed his hand to his chest. His lips formed the word, safe. Maya knelt before him. Safe from who, Theo? Who's hurting Mana? But the boy fell silent, tears rolling down his cheeks. Lucas ordered the estate staff to scour the grounds. They searched the garden, the shed, the surrounding woods. No trace of Mana. As hours passed, Lucas grew frantic. She was here under my roof, and I let her slip away again. I can't lose her twice. Maya clenched her fists. You need to stop hiding from the truth, Lucas. Someone took her. Someone who knows your secrets. His face hardened. The nurse. The one who vanished after Theo's birth? He nodded grimly. If Mana lived all these years, someone had to keep her hidden. That man, he knows everything. That evening, Maya called the private detective again. He arrived with a thin folder, his expression grave. I dug deeper, he said. The nurse's name was Victor Hale. Not only did he disappear, but before vanishing, he withdrew a large sum of money from one of your accounts, Mr. Harrington. Lucas's face blanched. That's impossible. The detective slid a faded photograph across the table. It showed Victor standing beside a shack in the woods with a young girl peeking from behind him. Mana. Maya's breath hitched. So he kept her. The detective nodded, most likely as leverage, a bargaining chip, maybe even revenge. But for her to suddenly appear on your estate now, he must be close, watching. Theo, sitting quietly at the table, lifted his finger again and pointed toward the window. His voice whispered, Shed. Under the moonlight, Lucas and Maya approached the locked shed with the detective by their side. The padlock hung crooked now, as though forced open recently. Lucas's hands trembled as he pulled it free. The door groaned open. Inside, the stench of damp wood and decay. A thin mattress lay in the corner, a torn blanket crumpled on top. Small shoes sat neatly beside it. Maya's stomach twisted. She was living here, all this time, on your property? Lucas staggered back, pressing a hand to his mouth. God help me, how didn't I see? On the floor, scratched into the wood, were words written over and over, Papa, home, Papa, home. Maya covered her mouth in horror. She's been calling for you, waiting for you. Theo reached out and touched the carvings, his eyes wide, his finger tracing the letters slowly. He turned to his father, his voice fragile. Papa. Lucas broke down, sobbing openly. I failed her. I failed both of them. As they left the shed, the detective froze. Wait, someone's there. From the tree line, a figure moved, tall, hunched, watching. Then he vanished into the dark. Lucas's voice shook. Victor. Maya clutched Theo's shoulders. If he's here, then Mana isn't far. He has her. The detective swore under his breath. We'll need to act fast. If he thinks you're on to him, he might disappear with her for good. That night, Lucas sat in his study, staring at old photographs of his wife, of baby Theo. His glass of whiskey sat untouched. His world, built on wealth and control, was crumbling. Maya entered quietly. You need to tell me everything. No more half-truths. Why did Victor have access to your children in the first place? Lucas's eyes glistened. Because I trusted him. He was there when my wife went into labor. When she died, I couldn't handle it. I told him to take care of things, to shield me from the worst. And instead, he stole your daughter, Maya said bitterly. Lucas buried his face in his hands. I let money and fear blind me. I didn't just lose Mana. I handed her away. Maya's voice softened. Then you need to make it right. Not for you, for them. Later, while the house was quiet, Maya checked on Theo. She found him sitting on the floor with crayons, scribbling furiously. At first, the drawing looked like a jumble of colors,
But then she realized it was a map. A house, the swing, the shed, and beyond it, a path into the forest ending at a small cabin. Theo pointed at the drawing. His lips formed the word, Manna. Maya's chest tightened. He knows where she is. The next morning, Lucas, Maya, and the detective followed Theo's drawing into the woods. Branches snapped underfoot. The air grew colder, heavier. And then they saw it. A weathered cabin, smoke curling faintly from its chimney. Lucas's heart pounded. She's in there. But before they could move closer, the cabin door creaked open, and Victor Hale stepped out, holding Manna by the arm.
The morning air was sharp, carrying the smell of damp earth and smoke. Lucas, Maya, and the detective crouched behind a thicket of trees, staring at the weathered cabin. The door creaked open. Victor Hale stepped out, his frame older now, but still imposing. His hair was streaked with gray, his clothes ragged, and clutched tightly by the arm was Manna. Her eyes darted wildly. When she saw Lucas, she cried out, "Papa!" Lucas lurched forward instinctively, but the detective yanked him back. "Careful, he's desperate. Don't spook him." Victor's gaze swept the trees. "I know you're out there, Harrington. Come out, or the girl suffers." Lucas stepped out first, his hands raised, his voice breaking. "Victor, please, don't hurt her. She's my daughter." Victor's lips curled into a bitter smile. "Now you remember? After all these years?" Maya emerged too, keeping herself between Victor and Theo, who trailed silently with his crayon map clutched to his chest. Victor sneered at Maya. "The maid. You see more than you should." The detective kept his gun low, his voice calm. "Let the child go, Victor. This doesn't end well for you." But Victor only tightened his grip on Manna. She whimpered, tears streaking her face. "You think I stole her?" Victor spat, his eyes blazing. "No, I saved her. Your precious millionaire here didn't want her. He paid me to take care of things when his wife died. I was supposed to dispose of her." Maya gasped. Lucas's knees buckled. "No, I didn't know. God forgive me, I didn't know." Victor laughed harshly. "Ignorance doesn't absolve you, Harrington. You buried yourself in money while I raised the ghost of your past." Maya's voice trembled with fury. "Raised? You locked her in sheds. You kept her like a prisoner." Victor's face twisted. "I gave her life. Without me, she'd have been nothing but a forgotten corpse." Manna sobbed, struggling against his grip. Theo stepped forward, pointing fiercely at his sister. His little voice rang out, breaking through the chaos. "Manna, home!" It was the first time Theo's voice carried so strongly, so clearly. Everyone froze. Manna broke free from Victor's grip, running to her brother. They clung together, trembling but united. Victor's hand shook as he pulled a knife from his pocket. "No, she belongs to me. She's my leverage, my proof of his sins." The detective raised his gun, voice sharp. "Drop it, Hale!" But Lucas stepped between them, hands spread wide. "No guns. No more violence. If anyone deserves punishment, it's me." His voice cracked as he looked Victor in the eyes. "Take me. Let the children go." For a long, tense moment, the forest held its breath. Victor's knife wavered, his shoulders slumped, his bitterness spilling out in ragged words. "You don't understand. I lost everything. My license, my family, my name, all because I carried your secret." Lucas's voice was soft but firm, "And carrying it destroyed you. And her. Don't make it worse. End this." Manna, clinging to Theo, whispered through sobs, "Papa, please."
Victor's hand shook violently, his eyes filled with tears. Slowly, he dropped the knife. The detective rushed forward, pinning Victor's arms behind him. The man didn't resist. He just whispered over and over, "I saved her. I saved her." Lucas fell to his knees, gathering both children into his arms. For the first time in his life, he held them both close. The daughter he thought was gone, the son he'd never fully understood. "I'm so sorry. I should have fought for you. I should have seen you. But now I promise you this. Never again will you be hidden. Never again will you be alone." Theo pressed his small hand against his father's chest, his eyes wet but steady. He whispered a single word, "Home." Mana echoed it softly, "Home." Maya stood nearby, her own tears falling. She had been the bridge, the one who listened when no one else would. And now the family that had been shattered stood whole again, fragile but together. Victor was led away by authorities. His final words echoed in Maya's mind, "I saved her." They were the words of a broken man who blurred the line between protection and cruelty. Back at the mansion, the house felt different. The silence that once haunted the halls was replaced by the laughter of two children. Mana and Theo played together in the garden, the swing swaying under their joined hands. Lucas stood beside Maya, his voice low. "I built this house with walls of stone and glass, but it was empty. You filled it with truth, even when it hurt." Maya smiled faintly. The truth hurts less than silence. Just when it seemed peace had returned, a letter arrived at the Harrington mansion. Addressed to Lucas, stamped with no return address. Inside was a single photograph of Mana as a baby, wrapped in hospital cloth, with a handwritten note scrawled across the bottom. "This is only the beginning."
The letter weighed heavy in Lucas's trembling hands. The photograph of baby Mana, the haunting note, "This is only the beginning," was a cruel reminder that even with Victor gone, the past still had its claws sunk deep into their lives. He stared at it for hours that night, unable to sleep. Beside him, Theo stirred in his bed, murmuring softly in dreams, while Mana clutched her stuffed toy, finally resting peacefully under the mansion's roof. But Lucas could not rest. Not yet. The detective came the next morning, the photo laid out on the polished mahogany desk. He studied it with a frown. "This handwriting isn't Victor's," he said flatly, "which means someone else was involved." Lucas's chest tightened. "Another person at the hospital?" "Possibly," the detective replied. "It means there are still secrets about that night we don't fully know." Lucas felt the room spin. How many years had his children suffered because of secrets hidden in silence? He swore he would not allow it again. Maya found him later in the garden, staring at the swing where Theo and Mana played together. Their laughter rang through the air, innocent and unburdened. "You're thinking too far ahead," Maya said gently, approaching. "The past will always leave shadows, but look," she nodded to the children. "Right now, they've found light." Lucas's voice cracked. "But what if it's not over? What if more comes?" Maya smiled softly. "Then you'll face it, not alone, but with them. You can't erase their scars, Lucas, but you can show them they're not broken, just beautifully whole in a different way." Over the following weeks, the mansion transformed. Where once there were locked rooms and silences, now there were voices, footsteps, and music. Lucas brought in specialists, not just for Theo, but for Mana, therapists, teachers, gentle guides, who helped them bridge the years of pain. Theo began speaking more, little by little, his words like fragile blossoms after a long winter. Mana began smiling, slowly trusting that this new life wasn't another cage. And Lucas, he became present.
No longer the distant figure who drowned his grief in business, but a father who sat on the floor to play, who listened when his children pointed, who celebrated every small victory. Months later, Lucas called a press conference. The world knew him as the ruthless Millionaire Harrington, a man defined by wealth and cold ambition, but that day he stepped onto the stage with his children at his side. His voice wavered, but his words were steady. For years, I was blind. I ignored the signs my son showed me, and I never knew my daughter had been stolen from me. Both of them lived in shadows because of my silence. But today I stand before you as a father first, not as a businessman. I vow to protect them, to understand them, and to give them a voice where I once gave them none. The cameras flashed, the headlines roared, but for Lucas, it wasn't about reputation. It was about truth. For once, he didn't hide it. That evening, as the family sat together, Theo pulled out a drawing. It was of the mansion garden, the swing set beneath the oak tree. But in the picture, there were 4 figures: Theo, Mana, Maya, and Lucas, all holding hands. Theo looked up shyly, then whispered, "Family." Lucas's throat tightened, tears welling in his eyes. He hugged his son tightly, whispering back, "Yes, family." Mana leaned against them, her eyes closed, finally at peace. Weeks turned to months. Maya had become more than a maid. She was the heart of their recovery, the steady presence who reminded them of compassion and patience. One evening, Lucas approached her. "You've given us more than I could ever repay," he said quietly. "You uncovered the truth when I refused to see it. You brought my children back to me. Stay, not as a maid, but as part of this family." Maya smiled, her eyes warm. Families aren't built by blood alone. They're built by choice, and I choose to stay. One night, beneath a blanket of stars, Lucas pushed Theo and Mana gently on the swing. Their laughter floated into the night air, unbroken, unafraid. He looked at them and realized something profound. Wealth could build walls, but only love could build a home. The swing, once a symbol of mystery and silence, now sang with joy. And so the truth was clear. Sometimes the smallest signs, a child pointing, a quiet silence, a word left unspoken, carry the weight of worlds. If you ignore them, you lose more than you can ever imagine. But if you listen, truly listen, they can lead you to love, healing, and redemption. Lucas had nearly lost everything, but through the courage of a maid and the voices of his children, he found the one thing wealth could never buy: family. This was the story of a millionaire who couldn't explain his autistic son's signs until the maid exposed the hidden truth, and in that truth, a broken family was made whole again.